Continuity reigns supreme in Chicago basketball.
God.
Oh, what's good, Bulls fans and Horniacs? We're officially the Horniacs now, guys. That voting has ended.
Yeah, it's official.
It's official. We are the Horniacs.
No, the fans are the Horniacs.
Fans, yeah.
We're the fellowship.
We're the fellowship.
Are you not a fan of your own show? You're not a Horniac at heart?
I'm a fellowship.
I'm a fan and a host.
We're on a journey to somehow destroy the one ring that lets Jerry rule Chicago.
Well, he'd have to never get.
He'd have to win. Yeah, exactly. Like I alluded to in the intro, the Bulls have continued their dreaded C word in continuity. We are past the trade deadline.
It's not continuity anymore. It's competitive. We're a competitive team.
Right. Either way, that's disappointing. The team that we had is the team that we're keeping. Since our last cast, the Bulls went 6-4 in the last 10 games. They're currently sitting at 9th in the Eastern Conference. Go figure there. And we're coming off of back-to-back wins, one in particular being to the then top seed in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was a phenomenal game. We took them into overtime, and I think we just played pretty solid despite coming out of the gates with 23-point deficit. We drawed it back and beat them. But then we lost a very disappointing game to the Sacramento Kings. Guys, we are past the trade deadline, and go figure, we didn't do anything. What's your guys' thoughts on the no moves made by the team?
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by it. Just all the rumors coming out, how much they were asking for certain players like Caruso. They were asking for, 2 first-round picks and possibly another player. That's a lot for a guy that just can play defense and sometimes shoot the three. And if you've been watching him lately, he's been making a lot of terrible defensive plays and terrible fouls. So he's not worth 2 first-round picks. That's just crazy. I think we overvalue our players. Our big trade asset was Zach Lavine. He shut himself down for surgery, which really, I'm not surprised. He was having a down year. He kept coming back and getting injured. So why not just shut yourself down, get yourself in a right spot, come back next year, get some practice in, because he's going to heal up somewhat fast and be able to have all summer to practice up. So I'm really not surprised. I kind of did expect them to possibly move like Drummond or maybe DeRozan, but them not making a move, really not surprised.
I'm with you. I mean, we posted a poll on our Twitter there asking the fans who they thought was going to get moved, and a lot of them ended up saying that the Bulls weren't expected to make any moves at all. But then we had a couple thinking that DeRozan was going to end up getting moved. Of course, that didn't happen, so he's going to be a unrestricted free agent come this summer, providing we don't re-sign him. So, yeah, a little disappointing. Dan, what do you make of this trade deadline?
Well, I've been saying for weeks, don't be surprised if the Bulls don't do anything. And, of course, the Bulls did nothing. I was mad about it. Even though I was expecting them to do nothing, I was still mad about it. Just because, this team, we all know this team ain't it. Something needs to change. I thought that Drummond was going to get moved because I heard a lot of rumblings of him going to Houston. I also thought that DeMar was going to get moved. I heard a lot of rumblings of him going to Philly, but obviously nothing came of that. And yeah, I mean, that was the only moves I really thought was gonna happen. I mean, good for Zach for, getting his surgery and getting healthy and everything, but sucks that we weren't able to move him and he had that convenient surgery done right around the deadline. Who would have thought about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you alluded to that because I think that's going to be our critical thinking question of the day. It's going to be centered around Zach electing to have his surgery when he did. Again, no disrespect to a player wanting to elevate his health. We're not accusing him of anything. I just want to make that perfectly clear. But I just thought that made for a good discussion for our critical thinking.
Oh, and also I was reading yesterday an article about Zach's injury and everything. Apparently he's had this injury since he was in youth basketball, but never really hurt him this bad and up until now. When the inflammation started to arise. So that's why he finally decided to do something about it, because it came back from when he was a kid and he just wants to be healthy and compete.
Can't blame them. I mean,
Yeah. It might be a legit thing. It might not be. But, I mean, who are we to say? There's no like, facts about, Zach purposely getting a surgery so he doesn't have to go to Detroit. But we'll dive deeper into that later.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. We didn't make any moves. I'm a little disappointed as well as all the other fans. But in reality, now that the dust has kind of settled, I mean, what did you really expect? I mean, did you expect, for one, I don't think anybody wanted anybody on this team. Like we said, Zach gets hurt. Nobody is going to trade for a $40 million player in the middle of an injury. You know what I mean? That's not going to, if he had an expiring contract to dump $40 million, people would be chomping at the bit. Absolutely. But not somebody who's going to be on the books for a while.
Well, I think the Bulls have players, like the Bulls have a lot of players that other teams want. It's like what Scott said and what like a lot of other people have said, that our front office 100% overvalues their players.
That's what I was alluding to, more or less. Like, okay, you move Drummond. Okay, you really going to get that next big piece, or is it just for the sake of moving Drummond? You know what I mean? The Bulls already said they don't want to rebuild, and I feel like trading a big contributor like a Drummond, you're not going to get the piece that you need to stay competitive.
Right, because you have to, if we traded Drummond, then what are we getting in return? Because like, we're already hurting with size. If we get rid of Drummond, we're going to be relying just on Vooch pretty much, and then Terry Taylor is going to be at center.
Exactly.
Like, unless it was for another big man.
Here's the thing. Would you have traded Drummond and have gotten a better Drummond in return? No. I can understand if we would have traded like a guard and gotten a big man, sure, but we're already lacking in size.
Or even just a serviceable second unit big man. It doesn't even because I think Drummond is a starting caliber player.
We saw it during the Minnesota game. He started with Vooch. We'll touch on that later too. But yeah, here's the thing, and I've been saying it on prior casts, is Bulls fans get in their 2K trade mentality, and that is, I'm going to say it again, I'll give you my garbage and I want your gold. And when you look at this roster, you got to ask me, does anyone really ringing the phones off the hook for a Nikola Vucevic? Is anyone really ringing the phones off the hook for an injured Pat Williams, a Dalen Terry? No. I do think the Bulls had pieces that we could have traded, but I don't think it would have helped any. Like, what would it have helped?
Did you see the trade that almost went down? It was Caruso for Kuminga.
Yeah, which I heard that was never, because I listened to, I think Casey Johnson reported it. I guess that was never a real trade. Like, it was a trade proposal, but it was all speculated. It was one of those, what do you want for Kuminga? And they said, well, give us Caruso and some picks. And I guess
they're
that's
just like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. It was a trade that was never going to happen to begin with.
Oh, my God, this front office.
I know.
Again, they overvalued Caruso.
Yes.
They think their players are better than they are.
Yeah. Now, granted, again, I'm still not dismissing that he's not the best defensive player. He's probably the best defensive guards in the league. I will say that. 100%.
If he's not the best, then he's in top 5.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, are we in a rebuild? And would trading him away really give you that piece to get out of the 9th seed in the East? I don't really think so. I think, again, Bulls fans just became obsessed with, I want to make trades. And
it was because we haven't done anything in 3 years.
Yeah, no, and I get it, but it's like, all right, who's one player that you think would have actually gotten traded?
I honestly thought that Drummond was the one piece that would be moved.
Sure. Well, here, I'll give you this, because DeMar DeRozan, we heard talks about him going to Philly, okay? Can you name somebody on the Philadelphia 76ers, aside from the obvious one? Can you name obtainable units?
Who's the obvious one?
Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, okay.
Out of these two guys, could you name somebody on the team you would rather have over DeMar DeRozan?
No,
honestly. They want a first-round pick, okay?
Well, because wasn't the trade scenario, well, at least what I think this trade scenario was, like DeMar, and we would get like Tobias Harris in return and like some other pieces, I think.
I mean, again, I don't know if there was ever really an official trade, but I know that in the machine, a lot of things that I've been seeing was first-round pick and Tobias Harris, expiring contract, veteran big, some salary dumps, more or less.
Yeah.
But again, do you want an aging Tobias Harris for
an aging DeMar DeRozan?
No. And then they want a first-round pick that's just going to end up being a Dalen Terry. You know what I mean? Some of that you pick up, but then you never play. You send down to the G League. You know what I mean? Is that really who you want to trade a DeMar DeRozan for? I guess, like I said, the Bulls fan just became a little too obsessed with movements, and they just wanted somebody gone for the sake of making a trade. But again, it wouldn't have helped us either way. I don't think there was a single obtainable unit that would have propelled us above into the 6th seed.
No. I mean, because I think if you trade Tamar, if you trade AC, then you might as well just rebuild at that point.
Right.
Not retool, just rebuild.
Right, which they've already said, because of AK's press conference. We'll get to that later, but they don't want to rebuild. I guess he had asked Jerry, let me know when you want to rebuild, and I guess Jerry said that's not the time. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but geez, I can't wait till we do. I can't wait till we do the Jerry Reinsdorf main topic show. Okay,
it's going to be triggered the entire episode.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Guys, did you see any trades that happened with other teams that you felt like maybe we could have made a run at that trade? Scott, what do you think were trades that happened that were very obtainable for the Bulls?
Really not that much. Like, there wasn't as many. This is kind of a slow trade deadline. There wasn't many big trades. There wasn't many big players moved. It was the big ones were the ones the Raptors did like a week or two before the trade deadline. Like the trade deadline, nothing really happened. It was a bunch of small pieces, role players moved, no big stars.
Yeah, I just realized Murray didn't get moved.
No, there was also...
I just realized that.
This is why this trade deadline really brought me to the point of these trade rumors are all bullshit and we need to stop listening to them. Like how much did they...
get those clicks.
Yeah, how much did they talk about the Lakers were going to make all these moves? Lakers didn't do anything either. There was talks of Trae Young moving. Obviously, they didn't trade Trae Young. It's all bullshit to get clicks, like Dan said. Like, the big trades that, like, the Raptors did, they weren't really talked about until the day of, and then, like, 4 or 5 people started talking about them. But I don't think there was much the Bulls could do because, again, we overvalue our players too much, and we would have never made those trades.
I'm just going to say... I was scrolling through Twitter. I was glued to Twitter, much like you guys were, I'm sure, during that entire trade deadline. And some of these trade machine trades that I was seeing, that's a failed test on for some occasion. Like I was seeing all sorts of garbage being moved, and
you just gotta make the money work. That's all you gotta do.
And that's what it is. I think the fans just be like, "Oh, he makes $38 million. We got this player. Oh, it works." Like, no, put yourself in the GM's shoes. Would this benefit you as much as it benefits me? It's not about winning a trade. It's about getting what you need out of a trade.
Every trade has to be a win-win scenario.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the best I could have ever heard it.
Granted, there are some scenarios where like some GMs get straight fleeced from other GMs, but that's on them. That's not on anyone else.
Right. With that being said, Dan, what trades did you see happen that you felt, hey, we could have traded, or what trades were like, oh, we avoided something with that one? What do you got?
I'm kind of with Scott. Like it was kind of like every team kind of like reevaluating where they stand and where they want to go. Kind of like I don't think the Bulls should have done it, but one trade I did see and I did like was Pat Bev going to the Bucks. Like I thought that was really good for the Milwaukee Bucks because they've been needing defense. My dad being a huge Bucks fan, he called me and asked me about Pat Bev, and I told him that yes, he is a clown, but he's a solid vet. He does play good defense, and he'll be there for the team. Like, he's a ride or die kind of guy.
Did you see who actually broke that trade?
No. Oh, himself.
Yeah.
He broke it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I saw it on Twitter from the Pat Bev pod, and I thought it was just some, like, fan-base thing that was just like, okay, they must have gotten the jump. But then I realized, oh, no. Patrick Beverley tweeted out his own trade. Like, this man he's a menace.
But again, like you said, he is that ride or die.
He's a ride or die guy. Like I would love to have Pat back, but we have no need for Pat.
Yeah, no, I mean, we should have never let him go.
I was surprised that we let him walk. But yeah, I think not a lot of moves were made because of the whole CBA thing. More owners are money conscious than ever.
I mean, I'm with you. I didn't really see. I mean, I'm in with both of you guys. I didn't really see too many trades, but the one trade that happened that I was kind of, I don't want to say disappointed, was the Buddy Hield trade. I'm a big fan of Buddy Hield, and it seems like Philadelphia got him for a steal. I mean, would they get him for a second-round pick and Marcus Morris, who I think they ended up releasing him? Yeah,
he's on the waiver wire.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a trade that's like, all right, I feel like we had some assets to pull off a Buddy Hield trade at least. You know what I mean? I don't know if too many expiring contracts we have on the team, but it seems like they got him super cheap. I would have loved to have seen a Buddy Hield come to Chicago. I feel like he could have benefited us, tenfold. But yeah, not a whole lot of noise happening. And did you guys see Bojan ended up getting moved?
Yeah, to New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I would not be surprised the Bulls take a look at Fournier, just because him and Vooch are like boys.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of buyout pieces that I'm sure that we're going to be taking a look at, which actually, moving on from that, now that the trade deadline is over and this roster is pretty...
Let me jump back real fast. I did forget about one trade that I think we could have done, which I just can't believe how little they paid for him. PJ Washington to Dallas for Seth Curry.
Yeah, that was a steal.
Grant Williams. Apparently Grant Williams pissed a lot of people off in Dallas, so they were just trying to get rid of him. But
yeah,
they really didn't give up much to get two players. I know Seth Curry is like way out of his prime and is just not that good. I don't even think he plays anymore. But Grant Williams,
he's like a third stringer.
He was decent at the beginning of the year. He was good on Boston. I feel like we could have made some sort of trade for that. But
yeah, that was a huge pickup for Dallas. And as big man, shy as we are, that would have been a great pickup for us.
I like Dallas's team. They got a nice squad.
Charlotte finally got their Curry back.
for now. He's not going to play. Or just get used to losing.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know. I think he'll play some crucial minutes in
still
Charlotte.
Get used to losing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Charlotte Hornets. They played last night. They lost like 127 to like 98 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, still. But as I said before, now that the trade deadline is passed, pretty much whatever roster that we have is going to be the roster moving forward. The only exception being the buyout market. The Bulls have a $1.7 million in cap space to work with. Jerry Reinsdorf, of course, as frugal as he is, saying he's not going to go into the luxury tax unless it's to bring a championship home to Chicago.
But that's not going to happen.
Right. So, guys, who are some big names on the buyout market that you think could help this team win? And who do you guys have your eyes on?
I think the one big one is Joe Harris, because there's actually talks about us getting Joe Harris with trade for Lavine, and he'll bring in some of the three-point shooting that we're missing off the bench. And then Korkmaz. Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah.
Like same type of thing. Like he's a decent three-point shooter. He wasn't doing very well on the Sixers this year, but he's a decent player, and I think he would do good off our bench. One player that I would love the Bulls to bring back is Thaddeus Young.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thaddeus Young, like he's way past his prime, but we recently played him and he put up some good minutes against us. He was shutting down Vooch. He was scoring all over Vooch. So I think he can bring some good veteran leadership and some size off the bench.
Yeah, and the fans loved him when he was here. I loved Thaddeus Young when he was in Chicago.
I know that Zach loved Thad as well, so maybe like Thad can kind of push Zach back in the right direction, and like, hey man, if you just believe in the team.
Yeah, okay.
Again, I don't know, just speculating over here.
Yeah, speculation. Hey Dan,
yes.
Who do you got your eyes on in the buyout market?
Yeah, I got Joe Harris as well, just because we've been hearing rumblings of Joe Harris joining the Bulls before the deadline. That Furkan guy, or whatever his name is, I'm so sorry if I butcher his name. I do think that he's another guy that the Bulls are going to be looking into. I would love Thad, and another Bull, Scott, that you didn't mention, or former Bull, that I would love to bring back is Robin Lopez.
Oh, jeez.
He doesn't have to play or anything. I just want to see some Robin Lopez antics.
He's a mascot.
He is a mascot.
So you want to sign somebody to this team to sit on the sideline and read a book?
Hell yeah. That was the funniest shit ever, that he was reading the book on the sideline during the Bucs game. That was hilarious.
I loved it.
Does he still beat the shit out of mascots? I don't really...
I think so. Well, I mean, I think when he was on the Bucs, I think it was him and Brooke.
I'm with you guys. Joe Harris is probably the obvious choice, but I think now Joe Harris is going to be targeted by those teams that are going to push them into the upper echelon. I can see him walking and joining a team that's a true contender, not a mediocre team, ninth in the Eastern Conference. If we get him, cool, but I don't think he'll come here. That's just me. I think he's too valuable of an asset on a team that's ready to win a title than us. A name that I really like in this free agency, or this buyout market rather, is Victor Oladipo. I mean, I've always liked Victor. I don't know why he can't stay on a team and he's become the journeyman that he is, but I think he brings a lot of energy.
Doesn't he have like a lot of injury problems?
He may. Again, I don't really follow him other than when we play him, but I've always been a fan of his game because he brings that, 3-point shooting and high energy dunk, type play. Kai Jones is available. I mean, again, we need big men. We don't need guards. I know I just named off a couple guards, but the Kyle Lowrys, that's not going to happen. We need big men. And if I was the GM, if I was our AK right now, I'd stay away from these small players. The Bulls need size. They just now started doing the Andre Drummond and Vucevic lineup that we've been saying this whole year, and it's working.
Talking about it forever.
Yes, and it's finally working. Who'd have thought? Vooch plays better as a power forward than a center. Wow. But again, the biggest downside of that is there's really no relief in size. So I feel like going into the buyout market, finding a big guy, be it a Thaddeus Young, a Furkan,
Robin Lopez
even. And again, these aren't players that are going to come in and bring you into the playoffs single-handedly. But what they're going to do is give Drummond that rest. Give Vooch that rest. It'll buy you some time for them to get their breather and come back in, so you don't have to play these aging veterans 30-plus minutes a game just to win a basketball game.
Or it could even be like the whole Pat Bev situation last season, where like we brought in Pat Bev and we moved up the rankings. We were out of the play in, and he brought us into the play in. I'm not gonna say like he alone did it, but like he helped us. Like these other veterans that we could potentially get on the buyout market, they're not gonna plug them in and instantly be a playoff team. But I mean, They might help us rise up and get out of the play-in and more into the playoff spot.
Yeah, going through the list I made, Joe Harris, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him go to LA. I'm not gonna lie to you; he probably will end up going to Lakers. That's just my prediction.
You're gonna see all these guys rumored to go to LA.
Well, here, Kyle Lowry or Joe Harris, one of those two is going to the Lakers. I'm almost, I don't want to say guaranteeing it, but it's LeBron wants somebody. I mean, I'm not trying to move off the topic of the Bulls, but it's very clear that LeBron's unhappy over there. He can deny it all he wants, but if I was one of the greatest of all time and on my way out, I don't want my remaining years in the league to be spent missing the playoffs. So look for the Lakers to be calling Joe Harris, Kyle Lowry, one of those. I mean, Victor Oladipo, I can be honest with you, Victor Oladipo will probably not have a job, as sad as it is. Kai Jones, I mean, take him or leave him. Spencer, Dimwitty.
Hey, Bulls legend. Bulls legend.
Bulls legend.
I like Spencer.
I wish we had a guard spot open for him, but I love Spencer.
He's rumored to go to LA.
Or Dallas.
Yeah, one of those two teams.
But, I mean, again, how does Dallas have room for him with all the guards they have? And then we mentioned Furkan and Rolo. So the buyout market, Bulls fans, just take a big breath and realize that there is nobody in the buyout market that is going to propel this team into the playoffs, okay?
Well, I just hope that Bulls fans have had like this weekend to kind of like calm down, come back down to earth.
Yes.
Like, I was furious during the trade deadline. I was mad yesterday still from, the trade deadline bullshit. I was mad at AK and everything, but, I've calmed down since then, level-headed.
Again, in the end of the day, it's just we wanted some movement. I think we just wanted something other than, because you got to think from last year to this year, the only thing that changed was really two players, and that's Torrey Craig and Javon Carter. You know, Torrey Craig getting hurt for a majority of this season, and JC just not really living up to what we thought we were going to get from him. So they just want something, you know, and I get it, but keep in mind, you know, this team still needs a direction. You know, and that's
sad that it's been like, what, 2-3 years and we're still directionless. Yeah.
Well, I heard a stat yesterday. In the last 6 years, we've tallied one playoff victory. One.
Yep.
And the sad part is, and this is what's gonna take us into our next segment, is Bulls fans are gonna hate to hear this as well, but this is more than likely going to be your roster into next season too. I'm sorry to say it.
Same exact roster.
Do you guys have any opinions? Pretty much agree with that, or?
Yeah. So I think that this 100% is going to be the same team next year. It's going to be Zach. Our starting lineup next year is going to be Kobe, Zach, DeMar, Pat, and Vooch. Zoe might be there. If Zoe is there, he's going to start off the bench probably for 2 to 3 months just to shake off the rust or whatever. Then if he comes back as good as we hope he does, then he'll probably be plugged back into the starting lineup, will be good for a couple months. Either Zach or Zoe gets hurt again, and then we start sliding back. It's going to be back to year one with these guys. Get used to this, Bulls fans. Honest.
If Zoe comes back, we are going to lose either Debo or P. Wills. Because if Zoe comes back, he's owed $20 million, of which we're not getting that injured player exception for. So
true.
If Zoe comes back, we're losing either P. Wills or Debo.
You bring up the money. The money is another reason why this team is going to be the same, because money-wise in the offseason, our hands are kind of tied. We can't do much in the offseason.
It would almost be you have to either let Debo walk in hopes of signing somebody else.
Because we can't go over the soft cap.
Yeah, but I mean, we have mid-levels. We have a bunch of contributing factors. But is it really worth it to let an already established player who's happy in Chicago and DeMar DeRozan walk
for nothing,
just in hopes that somebody else would get here? Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, just looking at who's going to be a free agent next year, we're not going to make a move to add to the starting lineup, but I could definitely see them trying to get some bench players. I know there's some decent shooters coming that are going to be free agents that we should get. We should absolutely be looking at if we can somehow get away from the Javon Carter contract. Let's bring McDermott back. Let's make Dougie McBuckets back. Have him come off the bench. Players like that.
Who else is a free agent next year? Is there anyone on that list that is, looks intriguing to you? I don't have a list up or anything, so.
There's really not a lot. We are going to have to sign Drummond again if we want to keep him. He's a free agent. But there's some players do we bring in Dylan Wright as a backup point guard? Do we bring in Kyle Anderson as a power forward? You kind of just are looking at bench players right now. THT, do we try to sign him?
I think he's going to have way too many teams going after him.
And Anderson's probably going to stay. If he was smart, he would stay with the Wolves. The Wolves are killing it. They're only moving up.
Yeah, there's really it's not that great of a free agent market. It's kind of top heavy with old names that you guys know, like Hayward, Harden, Klay Thompson, Lowry, Buddy Hield, those kind of players.
Maybe Buddy Hield, man. I wouldn't mind going after Buddy.
So
I'm telling you guys.
Pulled up a list. Jimmy Butler is going to be a free agent.
Yeah,
he's going to stay in Miami.
Oh, for sure. But it'll be. He has a player option. He's going to exercise that.
Yeah.
Really not that good of a market, but it'll be another player that we try to bring in off the bench that hopefully can help our 3-and-D, and what Javon Carter wasn't.
Right. So, I mean, just going down the list, I mean, we pretty much locked up Vooch for another 3 years, so he's not going anywhere. Power forward-wise, we run we run either Pat or Debo. Again, Pat is probably going to stay. Debo, I'm sorry, he's going to be staying. You don't be surprised if you don't see him get an extension before the year's over. I'm projecting to see him some 3-year, $100 million extension.
Yeah, they're going to overpay.
Just going to say that.
They're going to overpay him.
Yeah. Zach, I mean, again, he injured himself. He's coming off of an injury. Teams are going to want to see how he plays before they even think about making a move for him. Because if he comes back and balls out, $40 million doesn't seem like that big a deal. But if he comes back and plays like crap because that injury got the best of him, you just invested $40 million on a bust. Kobe's going to be back, and I think he's only going to get better. The real X factor would be Zoe. And as we mentioned, if Lonzo comes back, the Bulls are in a pickle because now do we run Kobe back at the shooting guard now that he's shown his exceptional ability to pass the ball and be a point guard on this team? Do we move him back to shooting guard? There's a lot of avenues to go down.
I personally think that Kobe would be better at the 2 than at the 1.
Sure, yeah. No, I agree with you.
Personal opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Drummond, I hate to say it, Drummond's not coming back.
I mean, unless we overpay for him as well.
I don't think we have the money to.
True.
I don't think we have the money to.
We can overpay because he's already our own player. Like other teams have to give him less money.
But that would be dipping into the luxury tax. We are like right there on the luxury tax. True. Drummond, and I'm sorry, we didn't utilize him the way that he wanted to. I feel like his entire duration on this team has been spent in a position that he didn't want to play. I know he wasn't expecting to start, so to speak, but I don't think he was expecting to get so few minutes. I mean, he's put in the work. He puts up the numbers, and you know what I mean? Up until recently, we kind of dogged him. So, I mean, maybe it changes for the last 30 games of the season, but I don't see Drummond coming back. And then the other pawns, I'll just call them pawns, we're kind of stuck with. So, again, Bulls fans, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, please don't unsubscribe, but this team is going to be the same.
Do you think that we re-sign Pat?
Pat Williams, yeah. He's a restricted free agent. So
well, I know that he's restricted. I just don't know if it's going to be like a Zach Lavine situation where they're just like, go find your value and maybe we'll match it, or just like, hey, we really like you.
I feel like that's too dangerous of a game. Because, again, we don't have much cap space to work with. I think Pat is, what is he? Is he still on his rookie contract? I believe he is.
Yeah.
He's getting a $15 to $20 million a year deal.
Yeah, easily. And I don't think we have the funds to pay for it. So basically look at it like this. Lonzo Ball, if he's ready to come back, God willing, if he's ready to come back next year, you're losing Patrick Williams. If Lonzo Ball can't come back next year, we're keeping Patrick Williams. That's more or less what I'm saying.
I'd rather just find a place to put Carter and maybe be able to keep Pat and Zoe.
Find a place to put him. Put him in the Pfizer, man. Get him. I don't want him on this team. Jeez. Put him as far away. I almost don't even want him coming here in home games when he's on another team.
Oh man. I'm sure he's a cool guy and everything, but yeah, you're right. Like, this is, again, I swear to God, anytime I watched the Bucks last season, this is the Javon Carter I saw.
When you watch the Bucks, that's the Javon Carter you saw. When I watch the Bulls, this is the John Lucas III that I've seen.
Sal, you were posting highlights of him last game on Twitter. So come on now.
Oh, of JC?
Yeah.
Oh man, the guy can do some cool stuff, man. He's got a smooth jump shot. He's a great player, but I don't think that's what we need.
He gets a lot of hate. It's not really deserved. I understand it, but I mean, like, he was talked up to be this 3-and-D kind of guy. He's not. He wasn't in Milwaukee. He's not here.
No. Again, he was only successful because the team is successful. It's kind of like in football when you have a quarterback with extremely good receivers, that quarterback's going to look extremely incredible. Yeah. You know what I mean? You take those receivers away, and then they're like, oh, this guy sucks. You know what I mean? That's Javon Carter. So he's a John Lucas III that's got a little bit more game. Shout out John Lucas III.
That's rough. That's rough.
So we'll touch on this pretty big. Immediately following the game, AK came on and addressed the media via Zoom, and he pretty much was answering questions about why this team stood pat and the direction moving forward. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really hear anything reassuring from him.
I thought the whole thing was bad. He got the standings wrong. Call that out real quick. And yeah, so continuity is no longer the C word. It is now competitive. I have no idea what they think the definition of competitive is, but it's not this Bulls team. This Bulls team is not competitive. So I have no idea what he's talking about. I was certain that he was just saying what Jerry wanted to hear, not what the actual fans wanted to hear. So that was my, like, I hated everything about that press conference.
Let me talk about how competitive the Bulls are, because I actually spent like an hour on this today.
Go on, please allude.
At the time the Bulls were playing them, if the team had a winning record, the Bulls are 8-21 this year. How is that competitive?
It's not.
Yeah, and they lost by, they're getting blown out too. They lost by an average of 11 points. So how is that competitive? We are a bum-slaying team. We're 16-5 against teams that are 500 or worse. So those aren't the teams that make the playoffs. Those are the teams that make maybe the play-in game, but teams in the playoffs, we're terrible. Yeah. So how is that competitive?
Well, I saw this one thing so they were probably supposedly they were going to blow up the team, but then that Wolves game happened where we won, and their thought process supposedly it was just like, okay, we beat the Wolves, and the Wolves have beaten the Bucks. Therefore, we can beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
Therefore, we are a playoff team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that is their thought process, but oh my God, someone studied their brains, because these guys are just, there's certain times where I'm like, you guys are morons.
Yeah, you got to think this team was founded on the fact that we lost to the team that ended up going to the finals in the Miami Heat. No, I agree 100%. Here's my take on AK's press conference. Aside from him trying to pull his best Allen Iverson impression by saying competitive 12 times, what is competitive? You know, like what you guys are asking, like, what is competitive? What team in this league is not playing to compete to win a championship? I'm saying if you're one of the 30 teams in this league that aren't playing to win a championship, what are you doing? What is competitive about this team? You shouldn't have to compete to get into the play-ins. I saw a man that looked defeated. I saw a man that probably does not have what it takes to pull off a trade. I see a man that does not have the stones to stand up to the owner or rebuttal the owner. I see kind of I'll just say it. I see kind of a half-assed GM. That's what I'm going to it almost has me wishing that we had Garpax back. I'm just going to say it.
I just want to address that real quick. The whole wish we had Garpax thing. I think that the fans are a little too harsh on AK right now anyways. Like, I'm giving AK 2 more years. I'll give this front office 2 more years to actually be actually competitive. And if not, then I'll just be like, yeah, Garpax was better than Acme.
Here's the thing that Acme didn't do that Garpax was able to do was at least get us, and get us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Acme has got us in the playoffs one time
with one
and we've
win.
won one game. You know what I mean? As much as we hated Garpax, he was bringing us to the playoffs. He was getting us great coaches.
I mainly just want to see what this team looks like once Zach's contract is up, because I feel like we're probably going to have Zach until his contract's up.
Maybe.
It's just how I feel.
Yeah.
These are all my own opinions and feelings and everything about the team. So yeah, I want to see what they do with the post Zach Lavine era.
Yeah.
And then if it's more the same, then you guys are dog shit, and let's fire Acme. Signs are going to be all over Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, you know, us three, the fans, we've never been GMs.
No.
So, I mean, we hated Garpax, but how did we know that Garpax was just not working with a team that they were able to work with. You know what I mean?
And in hindsight, Garpax wasn't that bad.
No, the reason we hated Garpax is because they had no trust of the players, and it always came out that they had spies in the locker room. They had the coaching staff. They kept like getting coaches that weren't good. Like, why was Jim Boylan ever a coach? They made dumb like moves in the trade where they traded 2 first-round picks for McDermott. They drafted a lot of players that should not have been drafted as early as they did. Really, their only good drafts were they lucked into Derrick Rose and
Jimmy.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, Jimmy.
They were good
Laurie.
No.
They drafted Kobe.
They were good at bringing in like drafting players late in the first round, early second round.
Oh, okay.
But like mid-round picks, it just never worked for them. So there was too many trust issues with the team. They lost a lot of faith in the players. That's why we hated Garpax. They were decent at their job. AK, I don't have any faith. They put too much money into building this team, which on paper, it should work pretty well if the team is healthy. The team has never been healthy, or it was healthy for what? 20 games?
30 games, yeah.
So we have too much money tied into it. You can't really go over the luxury tax. Why go over the luxury tax with a average team? Like, what's the point of even doing that? So you can't blame them, but also you can, because they built a mediocre team that's basically on the luxury tax. So it's hard.
Yeah. A couple things that I didn't like about Garpax wasn't necessarily the trades, because, again, you can't really blame them for trading 2 first-rounders for Doug McDermott, because at the time we had Joakim Noah. You know what I mean? I don't think we had any need for Yusuf Nurkic or Gary Harris, for that matter. And Doug McDermott was supposed to be that rifleman that we were missing. So the things that I didn't like him doing is like you guys alluded to. One, trading away Derrick Rose a little too early, in my opinion, because he still had some good years.
Wasn't it for like pretty much nothing too?
I get, yeah. But I mean, like, he still had a 50-point game in Minnesota. Now, granted, he had his injuries, but I think we pulled the trigger and traded them a little too soon. Mm-hmm. Choking and punching out Vinny Del Negro, those antics, no. The way we fired Thibodeau, like, this is the most winningest coach we've had since Phil Jackson, and you're going to have security escort him out of the building? I mean, come on now.
Wasn't it over, like, because they wanted Joe on restricted minutes, but Tibbs didn't? It was like over like petty bullshit.
Yeah, and I think Tibbs just pretty much looked at him. Again, I'm not saying this is what he said, but I think he pretty much told him, "Why don't you let me be the coach and you be the GM?
Let me do my job and you do yours." Yeah,
exactly. You know, I am the coach. You know what I mean? I get it. You're my boss, but we're winning basketball games. You play to win the game, and that's what I'm doing.
Do you want a ring or not?
Yeah, exactly. I think we broke up that core a little too early, and that's the only thing I hate about Garpax. Otherwise, he was a solid GM. They were both solid GMs. We can go on and on. Moving on.
Sorry.
Moving on. It's time for a critical thinking question. Zach Lavine electing to have his surgery right around the trade deadline. A lot of people are speculating that he did that intentionally to avoid being traded to the worst team in the league, Detroit Pistons. It's time to address the elephant in the room. Fellas, what is your take? Did he do this surgery purposefully, or do you think it was all coincidence? Scott, what's your take?
Yes and no. Because obviously I understand why he did surgery, or he had surgery. Like Dan said, he's had some inflammation that's never popped up before. If you've watched Bulls this year, you've seen how he in and out of the lineup. He's hurt. Like, he plays like 2-3 games. He's hurt. He's out for like 2 months. So I understand shutting yourself down and resetting and coming back stronger and cleaner than you've been. But also, I wouldn't want to get traded to the Pistons. That team is so dysfunctional. So yes and no. Also, I don't trust Clutch Sports. I think they have ruined basketball for a bit, trying to force themselves to be GMs and forcing teams to do dumb things, like trading players for no reason, like after they sign a big contract. So I don't respect them. So I think they talked him into it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Scott. I can totally see the rumor of it being like, well, I can't totally see it being true, but I totally understand where this rumor started and why it started and everything like that. Because yeah, I wouldn't want to go to the Pistons. Like they're a dysfunctional franchise. They are historically the worst franchise in NBA history. Yeah, and I didn't even think about the clutch sports stuff until Scott said it, and yeah, I'm positive that Rich Paul probably talked to Zach and told him like, hey, like we don't want to be, or Clutch Sports doesn't want to be associated with Detroit. So how about you get your foot fixed up? We go take surgery. You'll stay on the Bulls. We can work a trade next season or in the off season, and we can find something out for you.
Here's the thing about Zach Lavine. I'm gonna say, did he elect to have this surgery on purpose? Maybe. I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna say yes. I'm gonna say that this is a product of a very, very flawed system, and that is he wanted to be moved. He made it very well known he wanted to be moved, but the only suitor we could find that was willing to not only take on his contract and his injury problems was the worst team in the league. Okay. Now, put yourself in the position of a Zach Lavine where he thinks that he can still play at an elevated level and propel a team into championship status. You're getting traded for a team that's almost in the playoffs to a team that is in a rebuild and not even close to making a playoffs in Detroit, nonetheless. You know what I mean? I'm not commenting on the city of Detroit at all. I'm just saying going from Chicago to Detroit, but it is what it is.
Real quick, I don't think Zach wanted to go from. So when he was on the Wolves, it was a losing situation. The Wolves were a losing team. Then he gets traded to the Chicago Bulls, who were in a weird rebuild stage at that time. Losing situation for him. You trade him to Detroit, the most losing team in the NBA this year, and probably in the history of the NBA. It's obviously another losing situation for him. So why not, instead of going to another losing situation, opt out, get surgery, fix yourself up, be fresh for the next season, show off, maybe get traded, maybe actually start enjoying basketball again or playing with this team again, and figuring it out here in Chicago and being like, all right, we're like, I'm back at an all-star level. Like, let's do this thing.
I mean, if I'm Zach Lavine, the only person I have to blame is myself. Now, I don't blame him for the injuries per se. I'll never blame a player for being injury prone, but he wanted that money. He got that money. He now sees that carrying a $40 million suitcase restricts teams from wanting to invest in you, providing the problems playing with under a certain coach, providing the injuries. I'm with you. The best thing Zach Lavine right now can do as a member of the NBA is invest in your team. I'm going to be very real with you. He's not leaving this team and going to a contender at $40 million. His best chance he has of leaving this team comes when his contract is up, where he has more free range. That's just me. Now, why are you dogging Detroit? Hold on, real quick. Why are you dogging Detroit for being the worst team? They have 3 championships.
No. I'm saying like this year.
You said in the history of the NBA.
In the history of the NBA, this current roster of the Detroit Pistons are historically the worst team in basketball.
Okay. I was going to say, the Clippers have never won a championship.
I respect the history of Detroit. The city, the teams, everything about Detroit. I'm sure it's a, fine city and everything. Well, not fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not great. Let's be real. Sorry, Eminem.
Yeah. And on this episode of Dan Trash Talk is another U.S. city, Detroit.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Man, have some respect. Your boy Richard Rip Hamilton came.
It usually states that Dan talks shit about, so he's getting smaller. He's focusing in more.
on just the cities. And just the cities.
Yeah, he's geographically limited down. See,
yeah.
Damn.
You're next, it's Portland. You're next.
Oh, don't even. You love Portland.
I've been to Portland. I loved Portland until I went to Portland, and then I was like, this city sucks.
All right, we got a twofer. He knocks out 2 cities in one episode. Jeez, man.
I wanted to move to Portland. I went to Portland. I was like, yeah, no, I'll stay in the burbs of Chicago.
You just got your only chance of or looking at Portland was Portlandia, wasn't it? And you were like, "Oh yeah, I want to go there."
No, I mean, just
Yeah,
I don't know where I got the idea of loving
Portlandia.
It wasn't Portlandia. Portlandia is a great show, though.
I know what it
Fred
was. Is
Emerson.
you were obsessed with the 2010, 2011 Blazers with Damian Lillard, Thomas Robinson, Brandon Roy, Al Farouk Amino, all those that you were obsessed with that team. And I don't
That was my
blame
West
you.
Coast team. That was my West Coast team.
That was a dirty team with LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah, dirty team. You had the biggest man crush on Thomas Robinson. I don't know why.
Yeah, no. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Speaking of games, fellas, you ready to play this week's game?
Yeah.
Jeez. Thanks for the enthusiasm.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's game it.
Jeez. Yeah. Bring it on. All right, we got tremendous
Sorry,
feedback
I'm only
from...
undefeated, so...
You've lost 2 games.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
I thought it was undefeated.
No.
I'm over here bragging to people outside of the podcast, like, hey, guess what? That Scott Berman's an idiot. You don't know basketball.
What a scumbag.
We got tremendous feedback from the last game, so we're going to bring it back the same way. Only this time I'm going to shake it up a bit. I'm going to ask you the same style, back and forth, multiple choice, A, B, C, and D. Only this time, if one of you guys gets it wrong, I'm going to give the other person an opportunity to steal. How does that sound?
Neat.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the enthusiasm.
It sounds horntastic. Does that work?
Jeez.
Or does that work, or does that kind of?
I like that. I like that.
Different kind of vibes.
No. Hashtag horntastic. Let's make that a thing. All right. If you guys are ready, you guys want to decide who goes first?
Scott, you got a die over there?
What?
Does Scott have a die over there?
Like a dice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can always count on Scott to have a dice on hand.
I keep forgetting that it's one die,
Alex
2 dice.
Doesn't have any dice down here.
All right. I'll do this.
Do you have a coin?
Nope. Dan, heads or tails?
Heads.
It was tails.
All right, go.
All right. Scott Berman, you are the first player on this draft-themed game today. So today's game is centered around Chicago Bulls players and what number they were drafted at. I'm going to give you multiple choice what position they were drafted in, and you just tell me which one's the right answer. Okay? Number 1, Scott. What number was Dalen Terry drafted? Was it A, 10th, B, 7th, C, 18th, or D, 24th?
18th.
Yeah, hell yeah, right on, dude. 18th, he was drafted 18th overall. Dan Gracie.
Yeah.
What number was Taj Gibson drafted? Was it A, 16th, B, 9th, C, 26th, or D, 4th?
26th?
Yeah, all right. Hell, you guys are coming out of the gate swinging today. Yeah, Taj Gibson was drafted 26th overall. All right. Scott, my boy Tony Snell. What number was Tony Snell drafted? Was it A, 17th, B, 16th, C, 15th, or D, 20th overall? I'll give you a hint.
No, don't give me a hint.
No, I won't give you a hint.
Don't give me a hint. I want to say he was 16th.
That is incorrect. Dan?
Can you go over the numbers again? Sorry.
A, 17th, B, 16th, C, 15th, or D, 20th overall?
20th.
That is correct. He is
Hey.
20th overall.
Hold on. Can I say that it's a shame that no one signed Snell?
Well,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Like-
we didn't even touch on that.
Since you brought up Tony Snell, it reminded me, like, no one, like, this dude needed to get signed to a team to help his autistic kids, and none of the owners or GMs stepped up and helped a guy out. Like, I really think that's super fucked up.
they had to sign him for the rest of the year and play him minutes for him to get it.
Give the guy give him like a minute a game.
I think he needed more than that. I think it needed to be like 10 minutes a game or something like that.
I don't
But
know. I still think it's fucked up.
The Bulls could have signed him.
Yeah, what do we have to lose?
Yeah.
Competitiveness?
We're competitive.
That's already out the window.
Jeez.
Anyways, back to the game. Back to the game.
Dan, you are currently in the lead at 2 points. Scott's one.
That Scott Berman guy. He's a real idiot.
Okay, well then here we go. Ron Artest. Was he drafted second overall?
Ron Artest? I don't know who that is.
The Ron Artest, not any of these other names. Ron Artest. Second, A. B, 16th. C, 12th. Or D, 4th.
I think he was 4th overall.
It is Dan Gracie's turn.
I'm going to go with 4th.
That is incorrect.
It's not about that. That's sabotage.
That's what I just said.
I know, but it was my turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said the same answer as me. 2nd overall.
Incorrect.
Damn it.
So you guys both lose this one. Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, Meta Pando.
If you said Meta World Peace, then I probably would have known. I don't know who Ron Artest is.
Whatever the orchestrator of the Malice of the Palace nickname you choose was drafted 16th overall.
Damn it. I was going to say 16th.
Okay. 2-1. Moving on. Scott. And only Scott.
Yeah, Dan. How dare you?
What number was the man I wear on my chest every recording, Denzel Valentine, MCDV? By the way, if you haven't checked out Denzel Valentine's album, check it out and let me know how it is. What number was Denzel Valentine drafted? Was it A, 3rd overall, B, 14 overall, C, 45th overall, or D, 22 overall, 22nd?
B.
14th?
Yes.
That's correct. Denzel Valentine is drafted 14th overall. And I'm serious. He does have an album out. Did you guys see he's got an album out?
Yeah. Don't listen to it.
Okay, have you listened to it
I
yet?
haven't listened to it, so I can't. I should say
My
that.
man can shoot from Denzel range. Hits his range. I know that he's got bars.
Would you rather listen to Denzel Valentine rap or Damian Lillard rap?
I haven't listened to either. So
Well, the word on the street is that Dame is like one of the few NBA players that can actually rap. Like, he's legit.
I don't know, man. Have you heard Shaquille O'Neal rap?
Yeah, it's garbage. I've also
Are
heard.
you kidding me?
No,
he was Kazam.
He's a DJ now.
Yeah, he's better at DJing than rapping.
He's great at DJing.
He's great at everything.
Except rapping.
All right. Okay, the disrespect. Dan Gracie.
Yeah.
Jay Williams was drafted A, 2nd overall, B, 7th overall, C, 10th overall, or D, 29th overall.
I'm going to go 2nd overall.
Jay Williams was drafted 6th overall. That is correct. Okay. All right. 3-2.
Wait. What was he drafted?
Yeah, I said second.
Second overall.
Okay,
Yeah.
you said 6.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay.
Did I say 6?
Yeah.
I apologize.
You did
Second.
say 6, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to let that slide.
No, the 2nd overall. Okay. So it's going to be first 1 to 4. Dan, you have 3. Scott, you have 2. Scott, you have some catching up to do. But I have a feeling you're going to get it with this one. What number was Elton Brand drafted? Was it A, 5th overall, B, 6th overall, C, 10th overall, or D, 1st overall?
I want to say he was 2nd.
That wasn't an option.
Wait, yeah.
You said second. You
yeah,
said
you did.
second. You started with second.
I said 5th, 6th, and 10th.
Oh, yeah. So, what were the... Okay, repeat the question.
Yeah, redo this.
What number was Elton Brand drafted? Was it A, 5th overall, B, 6th overall, C, 10th overall, or D, 1st overall?
10th?
That is incorrect. Man,
Was he first?
my goodness.
Was he first?
He was the last Bulls player besides Derrick Rose to be drafted number 1 overall. You guys missed those glory days. The Elton Brand, Ron Artest, Ron Mercer.
I was not watching basketball at that time. I forgot. I don't know what I was doing.
I was. All right. Dan, chance to win the game here. Stacey King. What number was he drafted? Was it A, 6th, B, 7th, C, 12th, or D, 9th?
I want to say 6th.
You sure?
Yes.
Dan Gracie wins the game.
Hey, that Scott Berman guy.
Stacey King was drafted 6th overall.
I knew it was a high pick because he was good in college, but he wasn't. I think Michael Jordan destroyed his ego.
I don't know about all that. I don't know. I wasn't in the locker room. I can't speak. I was a child. So the next one, if you guys want to do the next one anyway, was Jimmy. What number was Jimmy drafted?
Wasn't he like 29th?
Close.
Was he 30th?
He was 30th pick.
Okay. I was like,
He was 30th pick. All right. Once again, Dan Gracie reigns supreme with a final score of 4-2. Congratulations to Dan Gracie.
Yes.
So Dan, you got anything for the fans before we sign off?
No. I can't think of anything right now. Yeah, I got nothing. Hopefully that we sign a vet from the buy-in market and move higher than 9th place. Like, it'd be nice if we were like at least 6th or 7th, like get a solid playoff spot. But I don't see that happening with this team.
I like it. Scott, what do you got for the fans before we go?
If we continue to struggle, this is becoming a Chicago Spy podcast. Our girl Cooper tears it up.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about the Chicago Sky because this team
is something else.
This is our team. This is our city. This is our team.
Hey,
we love
don't
this
disrespect
team.
the Sky. They won a championship.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm not disrespecting the Sky at all. I'm glad that finally there's a ring in Chicago.
Yeah, the Sky can be more relevant than the Bulls at some point, I bet you.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Horns Over Hoops podcast. If you haven't done so already, slide over to our page and check out our last episode where we do a collaboration with the Bloody Horns podcast. We broke down the trade deadline and the All-Star games. Go over there, check it out, and while you're at it, give them a follow and show them some love on Twitter and follow them wherever you can. We are actually very excited and pleased to announce that we've launched our store for our merchandise. It is at the website denzelrange.com. It's connected through Fourth Wall, and we have all our merch up and ready to go. There's some cool stuff on there, so go check it out. And while you're at it, use promo code HORNS20 to receive 20% off your entire purchase. That's HORNS20 to receive 20% off of all of your purchase on all your favorite Horns Over Hoops podcast gear. I'm telling you, there's some really good stuff over there, so go ahead and check it out. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you in the next podcast. And as always, see red and go Bulls. Good night, everybody.